Hey, it's Mike, and it's Arkells Disco Loadout Day. Now, I want to give a quick shout out to my friends Mark and Chris at Encore Records who saved the day today. I had pre-ordered this from the official Arkells website along with a beautiful splatter color vinyl autographed, and they either got stolen or lost in the mail. I won't know until later next week, but I had to have the album today. Thank you, Chris, and thank you, Mark. Let's get on with Grab a Stack of Rock.
Friday night, we're off to the races. Come and see familiar faces. Uncle Meat, Rob Daniels, Jon Snow. Gibby's here, it's the place to go. Grab a stack of rock with Mike and the band, Metal Man. Grab a stack of rock and hold on tight as hard as you can. Keyboard's here, it's time for a party. And Chris has got the comment started. Grab a stack of rock with Mike and the band, Metal Man. Grab a stack of rock and hold on tight as hard as you can. Grab a stack of rock. Grab a stack of rock.
Good evening, Kat.
Hey, how are you? Can you hear me?
I can hear you fine, thanks.
Awesome. Okay. Technology and I don't get along. So I had to drag out the laptop, which hasn't been fired up in about 3 months, and prop it up on my coffee can so that I can use it.
So like 3 weeks ago, my buddy Uncle Meat, his laptop started updating like hours before the show, and he calls me up and it's like at 33%, man. And anyway, he made it late, but I'm glad you're here, and thank you for spending your Friday night with us.
Thank you for having me. Once again, you have interrupted my traditional Bob's Burgers marathon on my exciting Friday night, so this shakes it up a little.
Awesome. Well, I just have one question to start.
Sure.
Have you heard it? Have you heard it yet?
Yes. I have heard it.
Okay. So I want to save that for the last album we talk about because, obviously I want to go in chronological order, but we want to build up to that. But do you have some favorite songs so far?
No. I like them all equally.
Okay.
I need to warm up to things. I have to listen to them like 15 times before I choose a favorite and decide what I really, really like.
Fair.
I'm not good with change. So people send me new stuff and I have to literally I know that's weird for somebody who likes music, but I literally have to be forced to listen to new stuff. And I'm in many aspects of my life, I hate change. So that I will warm up to it. And of course I've heard most of them played live. So It's not entirely new, and I'd like to thank you for I can think of 12 people on my Twitter feed alone who know Arkells stuff more than I do.
Wow.
So I think it's really cool that you keep inviting me back.
Well, I mean,
way more people who know more than I do.
That may be true, but I don't know them. And
that's true. I should
you
introduce
also,
you.
I think you have a remarkable story. 13 concerts within 18 months of first hearing this band, really, and that was last year. So I'm wondering how many more concerts have you seen since we last chatted?
I actually knew you would ask me that question, so I counted them up tonight as I was eating my dinner, and I'm up to 20.
20 concerts in,
20 concerts? Yeah, actually tonight is a year ago tonight. I was in Los Angeles seeing them at the Echoplex, which was an amazing show. I would love to do that again. I would do that again. I ditched my husband to go to that show in Los Angeles. We were going to a wedding and the band announced the show the day before our flight was supposed to get in. And bless his heart, I said, would you be really upset if I changed the flight? And of course he's like, well, I can't go. And I'm like, that's okay. So I changed the flight, booked a hotel room by myself, took an Uber to Echo Park, and met up with a bunch of people who are fans as well, who some I knew before, some I met in line, and it was amazing. I'd do it again. Yeah.
Well, they're playing here in Kitchener in November, and
Yeah.
I haven't bought a ticket because I'd be going solo. I don't know anybody to go with in town, unless
I'll
you're
go with
watching
you.
and want to. Okay, I'll buy 2 tickets. I'll be in touch
date.
about that. I do want to see them. I do want to see them.
Awesome. You will not regret it. They are so good live. In fact, the reason I got into them in the first place was seeing them live, albeit on a screen.
Right.
But I was like, that band has so much energy. I just love them live. And I mean, the records are great as well. But honestly, the live show is where it's at. And everybody I've taken to see them in the last 2 years, and there's a few people that I've dragged, but then they're really happy when they get there. My friend Stacy, she's a huge fan. She was, as soon as they announced this tour, she was like, we're going, right? And I'm like, you've seen them once. And she's totally into it. She's like, sign me up. They're great.
There you go.
So,
last summer on my birthday, when I got a couple of Arkells albums for my birthday, my mom, Roger will come, but he lives in Oshawa. That's a longer way than Hamilton.
that's not that far.
That's not that far. Let's all go. Let's all go. My mom last summer, when she bought me some Arkells albums for my birthday, she said, "What is it with you and Arkells?" And tonight, folks, that's what we're going to find out. Now, unfortunately for you, I primarily want to talk about the albums tonight, but you know the songs. You've heard a lot of these live. But for those, like we have Mr. John Clauser from my music corner here tonight, who doesn't know the Arkells. They formed as a band called Charlemagne in Hamilton, Ontario.
Hamilton.
I guess that would have been in the mid 2000s. I'm not sure the exact timing, but they changed their name to Arkells, named after, I believe, Arkell Street is a street in Hamilton or something like that.
It is indeed. It was the street that they all lived on together when they were students at university.
Right. So we have here their first album, Jackson Square, which is, again, a location in Hamilton. And I love this kind of retro album cover here with the names of the band members. Dan Griffin, the original keyboard player, Mike DeAngelis on guitar, Tim Oxford, the incredible drummer, Max Kerman, frontman extraordinaire, and Nick Dika, or Dika?
Dika.
You know, Dika? Nick Dika, who honestly, I think he's one of the best bass players in Canada. I feel that way about Tim Oxford on the drums. This is a great album to start with. There were more rock and roll, more indie rock, more 90s rock, more bluesy rock, but I have some favorite tunes off this. So here's my 5 highlights from Jackson Square. I've got Deadlines, the opening song, which may be their heaviest tune that they've ever done. It's got an amazing bass groove. Oh, the Boss is Coming, which that's just a fun song about slacking off on the job. And, the big man upstairs is making all the money, but you're doing all the hard work. Ballad of Hugo Chavez is a great song with a great chorus. And I may attempt some singing tonight, but Night of the Sun, it's a great chorus. Heart of the City, anthemic, another great chorus. And the closing number, The Blueprint, which, by the way, on iTunes, you can find an a cappella version of The Blueprint, which is just all stomping and clapping and singing. And it's incredible. Incredible. So that's my take on Jackson Square. Do you have any notes?
I think you pretty much nailed it. It's one of my favorite records. That's sort of their original sound. Well, it is their first record, right? So, I mean, that is really the sound that I like. I know they've gone off in different directions, but honestly, that and Morning Report are my 2 favorite albums, which I know you're going to get.
We'll get there.
I know. I'm jumping ahead.
Now, as you know, we originally booked the show with my pal Darcy out in BC. Darcy had another commitment that was far superior to doing an internet show. So no hard feelings, Darcy, but he did contribute some notes and a list. I'm going to play little video clips of what Darcy wrote me about each album. Now, here's the only issue is that he sent them to me in like a top 10 running order, and I can't access that right now, and I don't have it. So unfortunately, we'll be reading these out of order. We'll do them chronologically. But this is what Darcy had to say about the debut album, Jackson Square. Jackson Square, an incredibly impressive debut that feels like nearly the perfect length. Minimal filler, though still a few songs that we could have skipped over. feels like sort of a solid blending of its contemporaries of the time, as well as other Canadian alt-rock greats that surely inspired the band. Certainly, the songwriting and composition feels somewhat inspired by the likes of the Guess Who, mixed with the Matthew Good Band, the Tragically Hip, and even the Counting Crows to throw in some American influence. It feels both mature, new, and referential. To some, this might give way to a world of fairly generic alt-rock, and that is certainly where the band is coming from, but as well as some of the Canadian influences, the production and lyrics really make this shine. This feels like a perfect blending of the 2000s indie rock scene along with a lot of the great 90s Canadian alt-rockers. I can say that there's some enjoyable rock here for those who want something to go well with their Sam Roberts. Fair. I think those were fair comments.
Those are very accurate comments. And I just wanted to point out, I forgot that John Lennon was on that album, and that's one of my favorite songs ever that they do. That's just such a great tune.
They're clearly Beatles fans because they do have more than just that one reference to John.
For sure.
Now, I assume you've seen the video for Oh, the Boss is Coming?
Yes.
Okay, so what I've done here is just for some of their music videos, I've made some short clips so that people who haven't seen the Arkells get an idea for what they look like. Now, they've changed their appearance since 2008 when this album came out, but let's have a look at what I assume must be their very first music video, Oh, the Boss is Coming. It was? Okay,
Yeah,
so let's check that out. Oh, the Boss is Coming. Oh, the Boss is Coming. I believe this is the Arkells' first video from Jackson Square, and they've been called into... Oh, look at their hair. So young. They've been called into the boss's office for recording over the work safety video.
I want a new work safety video by Monday morning.
Yeah, so they have to make a brand new work safety video. By the way, lift with your legs. That's a real thing. I worked in a steel mill. I wonder if this is one of the steel suppliers in Hamilton that I deal with, but I work in a steel mill myself, so I recognize a lot of this stuff. I think this is an absolutely hilarious video. I love their kind of emo bangs over the face haircuts. This is with the original keyboard player, Dan Griffin. Look at him play. Like, he must have hurt his back playing like that. This is just a fun video. I love it, and they did get the work safety video submitted on time, as the boss requested. Happy ending for all. The boss is satisfied. And the band are free to go home. That's great. That really kind of sums up the fun aspect of this band. They are fun.
They are fun.
All right. Well, from there we go on to the second album, Michigan Left. Big hit on this one with Whistleblower. I remember hearing that one on the radio, and that was the first time I became aware of the Arkells. But I would just like to point something out here for the audience. Of course, I can't find the page when I need to. There we go. Max with a beard. How do you feel about Max with a beard?
It looks fine. He looks great, whatever he, like, he looks good no matter what he does.
We'll get there. We'll get there. I think I do like Max with a beard, but you know, he's undeniably got a cute frontman image now compared to sort of like the rougher, you know, kind of traveled bluesman look that he had.
Yeah, back then it was kind of like the rough and tumble sort of denim jacket kind of look, and now we've gone. Well, I know, as you keep saying, we're gonna get there, but like now we've gone like full on 80s neon, and that's been a little while. Which I mean, hey, you know, if that's your style, that's your style, whatever rocks your boat. But it's different. I feel like my childhood, my youth has come back to haunt me because I had so much neon and I've thrown it all away.
Right, exactly. I think I sent you a picture of me with my neon, pink neon hat. A lot of hits on Michigan Left. Yeah. Yes. I was going to point out Book Club is a personal favorite. The title track, Michigan Left, is so good. And one thing I really like about it is Max occasionally has this use of the echo effect on his voice. And there's this part where, you know, bah, 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 bah. I love it. And he does this echo effect a number of times on different albums. But I love that song. Coffee is intense. That's an intense song. And I also really like Bloodlines.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And I just I want to say as an aside, you don't have any idea how many times I've had to explain to people what a Michigan Left is.
I Googled it.
You Googled it?
I Googled it. It's interesting. It's basically it's an interesting way of engineering a new way to make a left turn on a busy highway.
It is. In Michigan, I mean, I grew up in Sault Ste. Marie, which is right on the border of Sioux, Michigan. There's two Sioux.
Right.
So I went to Michigan all the time. Half my classmates went to university in Michigan. And a Michigan left is you kind of go right to go left.
Yeah.
You can't do the left-hand turn at a light. You have to turn right and do this sort of funky U-turn thing in the across the median in the middle.
Right.
It's right, exactly right to go left. Sorry, see what I
To
did
me,
there?
it's kind of similar in concept to a traffic circle because there's no lights that I know of.
Kind of, but sometimes there are lights because of
Oh,
the U-turn. Sometimes there's lights. So like
Ah.
you'd make a right-hand turn and then you'd have to immediately get in the left-hand lane because there's usually 2 or 3 lanes. I'm thinking Telegraph Road in Detroit for anybody who's been to Michigan. And then you have to make a U-turn. And sometimes that U-turn has a set of lights. And then you have to go back across the set of lights that you were at originally, which is where you wanted to turn left anyway. It's really weird, really confusing, and so many people have come up to me and said Michigan left, and then they say something completely unrelated to what an actual Michigan left is. So I've taught so many people in lineups how to turn left in Michigan.
And now you know as well. I don't know how that relates to the lyrics of the song. Because there's only one line where he says, all I kept hearing is Michigan left. And it's like, maybe they're talking about being on a road trip with some friends. I don't know.
Or making strange turns in life. I'm sure it's very deep and like we're missing the point. I'm missing the point. But
definitely.
Yeah.
Well, let's see if Darcy got the point. This is what Darcy had to say about Michigan left. Michigan left. There's growth in songwriting and composition here, certainly a more commercial direction, and we lose a bit of the bite and bark along the way. I would say that this would be a much worse record if not for the stellar back half. I find the opener pretty generic, but both tracks 2 and 3 are great. Otherwise, I sort of lose any attention until the final 3 tracks. It's not a poor record by any means, and is, as stated, only saved from being incredibly too generic and saved by the back half of the album. Whistleblower and Agent Zero being the 2 strongest tunes here. Boo, Darcy, boo.
Kind of agree.
You kind of agree?
I do. It's not my favorite record. It's very good. Kiss Cam is an amazing song. I love that song. But the rest, it doesn't grab me the way other albums do.
I will tell you that there's an iTunes version with an acoustic bonus track. I think it's Agent Zero. One thing I've noticed is sometimes these albums have very unconventional closing songs. And Agent Zero is very unconventional. It's slow and atmospheric. But then it gets more melodic as it goes. Anyway, that was their second album, Michigan Left, from 2011. That was when I first heard the Arkells on the radio. And it was Whistleblower, which is a really powerful song with a great riff. And there would be less of that kind of harder rock as we go. Next album. And interestingly enough, the only one that comes in a jewel case.
Oh,
interesting. I just realized that today. Now, we'll talk about favorites at the end of the show, but this was an early favorite of mine, and it had a lot to do with Leather Jacket, of course, which some people call the payphone song. Leather Jacket is my wife's favorite song. My notes here were really simple. Too many good songs to mention, but it has the best 3-song opening trio on any Arkells album as far as I'm concerned, with Fake Money, Come to Light, and Cynical Bastards. Sorry. Fake Money is kind of interesting because it just builds and builds, and then it comes into this chorus. It's almost designed to be an intro. And then we have Come to Light and Cynical Bastards, which both have like this upbeat 80s groove. A lot of 80s keyboards. And this is also the first album with your friend Tony. Tony Carone on keyboards, Anthony. And personally speaking, as an outside observer, I think his influence made them more melodic. You hear the keyboard at the forefront on this album compared to the previous, where Dan Griffin was mostly playing like backing organs and atmospheric keyboard sounds. Tony is in the front. And I think he's probably one of the prominent songwriters of the band because he's very involved with the production of the albums. Systematic, also great song, very dance at the end.
Amazing. One of my favorites. One of the ones I sometimes put on in the background at work or on the drive to work, and I'll play it over and over and over again if I'm in the right mood. It's just so good.
I agree with John here. Start experimenting more with poppy music.
Yes.
And again, I speculate that's probably because of Tony's arrival in the band. Prior to this, they did a song called Tie Cats Are Hummin' for the Hamilton Tie Cats, and that was Tony's first appearance on an Arkells record. But this is his first actual album. Let's see what Darcy had to say about this one. Does he like it more? Let's see. High Noon, a very hook-filled pop rock album that does venture into power pop here and there. While the songwriting and bass work are still the band's strengths, even that takes a bit of a hit. More songs with generic lyrics regarding attraction, including the problematic 1111. There's still a few plights of the everyman, but those are more in the back seat here. There's still some bangers on here, from the piano rock of Hey Kids to some of the strong numbers like Come to Light and Cynical Bastards. But the album still feels a little too generic, and sometimes that is enjoyable, but ultimately forgettable. Sure Thing, Leather Jacket is single material, but so by the numbersly, I like that, so that it feels like a struggle to get through. I'm really hoping this isn't the road we're in as we continue with the band's discography. This is the band's best-selling album, so I'm not sure what we've got here in Canada. I'm also going to mention that Systematic is the surprise hit on the album and really has me rethinking my general rating. There you go. Systematic turned him around at the end of the record. You've seen it live? Have you seen it live, Systematic?
I don't think I have.
Ooh.
There's a number of my favorite songs that they refuse to do live in my presence, and it's really annoying. Yeah.
And you've seen them so many times, you'd think the odds are you hit it.
Go with the program. Please play some of my favorites, one in particular that we'll get to later.
Okay.
But I've never heard it. I've never heard Systematic. It's sad. Someday. Come on, guys.
Any further comments on High Noon?
I don't think so.
Okay. So we've got High Noon covered. Now we're on to 2016's Morning Report, which I know this is the album when I said to you, what should I buy next? You and a friend both told me Morning Report. It was unanimous. Mm-hmm. This is a contender for favorite album for sure. I love the artwork. It's so good. And we've had, for the first 4 albums, this sort of brownish tint to the album artwork, which will change as we go forward. Also, interestingly, their logo changes every album. Some bands do that. Bands do that. Not every band, like Kiss, has a consistent logo, and I don't think the Arkells need one. But that's great artwork, and even better, if you buy it on vinyl, you get different artwork.
Yes.
You get the woman's face, and this has bonus tracks as well. This has, I think, 3 or 4 tracks that are not on. Has 4 tracks that are not on the CD. So that's this is great. So let's talk Morning Report. I said too many good songs. Knocking at the Door, Hung Up, Making Do, My Heart's Always Yours, Savannah, Passenger Seat, A Little Rain, and Then Some. Did I miss anything?
You missed saying that every one of those is absolutely amazing. That's my favorite record, and I make no bones about it. Yeah. It's the one that got me interested in them. Listening to songs off that record was what really kind of solidified me as a fan. I have it in several versions, vinyl, the whole 9 yards. So yeah, every one of those songs is amazing. Making Do, I have a very strong personal connection to. Yeah, I know you know the story, but it's something I listened to on the drive when my mother was imminently dying, and I heard it over and over and over again. I listened to it over and over and over again. So, I mean, that has a lot of meaning for me personally. They have not played it live in my presence ever. And it's not for lack of trying, because I've requested it relentlessly on their last tour, where you got to call in and dedicate a song to somebody.
They did that phone thing.
My sister called in. My friend Stacy called in. Did we hear it? Absolutely not. I don't know why they won't do that for me. Starting to take it a little personally.
No, that's fine. I have done my part. I have tweeted them, and I have Instagrammed them to play Making You because I love it. And I think Max's performance on it is stunning. There's one part where he kind of pushes his voice to the limit. Where he says, you made some promises that should have been kept. You know, his voice is just at the limit.
Yeah, it's an amazing song. And I hope to hear it live before I die.
Yes, Max, please. And John here is making me very jealous. I would love to have had a Private Schoolboy t-shirt. That is cool. You'll notice, though, I didn't put Private School or Drake's Dad as my favorite songs at all. Those two are the only two that kind of throw me on this album. Really? They're just a little outside my ballpark because I'm come from the rock background more than like an urban dance kind of background. But I mean, I like the songs. They're just, if I was ranking them on this album, they would not be my favorites. I would have probably Savannah. It's just so good for singing. Savannah's it's so great. Easy to sing. And my wife, Jen, she would definitely put My Heart's Always Yours.
Oh, yeah. That's like one of the sappy ones that everybody kind of like, you know, dances to. And yeah.
Even though I think lyrically, I think the song is sort of about infidelity and coming back to some, but I'm not sure. But I don't think it's actually a happy lyric if you take Max's intent.
Oh, probably not. Lots of songs, you know, if you really read, you know, the lyrics, it's like, wow,
it's not what I thought.
You know, this is not what I thought it would be.
Now here's something cool. They started writing sick notes to students to skip school and miss class. That's brilliant.
They did. I was at the show at a laundromat in Hamilton last fall, and there was a kid in the group that I was in, and Max totally wrote him a note, you know, and he's like, what do you want me to say?
I think that was on YouTube. I think I've seen that.
It was. Yeah, it was.
Now, the only other thing I wanted to say about My Heart's Always Yours is, again, I'm going to attempt to sing here, but there's that vocal hook, ooh, and it's so hard to hit those notes. And unfortunately, on the acoustic version that's on the vinyl, that part's not on the song. Oh. And Darcy mentioned this in some of his notes that on the ballady. Well, I'm jumping ahead here. He talks about that during Campfire Chords, but I'll say it now that sometimes with acoustic versions, I lose my favorite parts of a song. Just the nature of the acoustic beast, really.
Okay.
But let's hear what Darcy had to say about Morning Report, see if you liked it better than High Noon. Morning Report. A much stronger effort than their last two releases of overly generic rock. Certainly this one leans more heavily into pop sensibilities with indie rock, but I think it works much stronger here. Tracks are much more memorable, the lyrics are generally stronger, and I feel like we have more time to breathe and experiment within the pop music confines. There's a larger use of piano and synths here that's a lot of fun, but in general, this is a much more upbeat album with some fantastic hooks, catchy choruses, and anthemic tunes of victory and triumph. I'm a big fan of Drake's Dad, My Heart's Always Yours, Passenger Seat, and A Little Rain, Song for Pete. The middle of the album does sag a bit, but the rest is pretty top, and it's a direction I'm happy to see the band venture towards. Thanks, Darcy. Now, the reason I said thanks, Darcy, is because I was in his ranking. That was his number one, so that was last on his list. But like I said, I can't access his ranking right now. I tried right before the show, and
technology.
That's Darcy's favorite album.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. Fun story about A Little Rain. I just had a weird memory come back. I have a lot of weird memories, but this one completely unrelated to whether the album's good or not. But A Little Rain. Last summer, my sister and I attended the Campfire Chords in Picton, which was amazing, but it was very outdoors. And if you know me at all, I'm not outdoorsy. I'm very much indoorsy. So outdoor concerts are not my favorite thing. Okay. Festivals and outdoor concerts. But we went to Picton and brought all the bug spray. And as they started to play that song, my sister was in a porta potty. She was like, and it was pouring. It was literally pouring. And my sister's like, I'm just going to listen to this song in the porta potty and listen to the rain beat against the plastic because I don't know if I could get any more miserable than this. I mean, the concert was great. It was amazing, but it was so wet. Right. And I just remember they sang that and it was absolutely pouring. And I thought, this is like, could it be any better for this song? So anyway, useless anecdote there.
And I'm amused by one aspect of that story, which is, she's sitting in this porta potty while Max is singing about a little rain in St. Peter's Cathedral. So, she's in her own little, and we have
my poor sister.
we have John here. How many times did it rain during that line? Little rain ain't bringing me down. Oh man, that was a bad note. I apologize.
If you're playing outside and it starts to rain, that is the perfect song to go into. I mean, it's just,
Well, as you know, we like to go to the cottage in the summer, and I think if it rains, I'm going to blast that song and go dance in the rain.
There you go.
I think we've said everything we need to say about Morning Report. Let's talk about Rally Cry. This is the first album that I kind of felt like, compared to the previous. Like, I felt that the first 4 albums were kind of building on each other, and then Rally Cry, I was kind of like,
Okay.
And I'm not sure why. I think the songs might be a little bit more straightforward and direct. Might. And that's not a blanket statement either, because they've also started experimenting with vocal loops on songs like, oh God, what's the name of that song? Relentless. They have that vocal loop. Na, na, na. And I apologize to everyone for my vocalizing. But I think also I really, I identify sort of more with their relationship lyrics and, personal lyrics, whereas this one's a little bit more on the political side, which is fine. I love that too. It's just I identify with it less. I pointed out American Screams, brilliant track with a great riff, and Hand Me Downs as the 2 best songs. But folks, on iTunes, you can download the Hand Me Down single, a duet with Frank Turner, and it's so good. It is so good. Max, if you're listening, please reissue Rally Cry with the Frank Turner track as a bonus track, because it's so good. People need to hear that version.
Frank Turner is playing here. His Lost Evenings thing is coming sometime in September, I believe, September or October. My good friends Jim and Allison are coming from the UK, and I'm wondering if Arkells will make an appearance at that.
Oh God, that'd be amazing.
Yeah,
I absolutely love that version, and I'm a sucker for accents. And I love when Frank Turner, you never really had a chance. I'm just, it's so good. It is so good. And his voice blends with Max's really, really well. Yeah. And I'm thinking maybe in terms of duets, that might kind of be the first Arkells duet with more to come.
A lot more. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you want to, where's my Rally Cry? Here it is. Also, there's the change in the artwork.
Yes.
No more undertone, those dark tones, no more of that. And there's Max on the cover in a really cool pose. Do you have anything you want to point out about this album? I only mentioned 2 songs.
American Screams is great. People's Champ.
Are you ready for the People's Champ?
The video for that is amazing. Filmed in Hamilton, practically kind of around the corner from my house, parts of it. So on Hamilton Street Railway, Barton and Ottawa Street, and Grandad's Donuts, I believe, if I'm thinking of the right one, which I'm pretty sure I am. It's a great video. It's fun. Yeah.
Can you see this comment?
Frank Turner and Arkells at Massey Hall was an unreal show. Yes, I would have loved that, but that's before my fandom really launched. So I missed a lot. I'm a late bloomer with Arkells. I keep telling you, I don't know why you have me on, because I am.
Well, it's because my story is similar. Like, I first heard them back in the Whistleblower days, but it wasn't until last year when I put High Noon on, and all of a sudden, out of the blue, I was like, I need more. And that feeling hadn't hit me before last year. So I went out and bought Michigan Left. And then I asked you, and you said Morning Report. And I was like, those 3, like, they cemented it. And then I did the Amazon wish list, clicked them all. My birthday was coming. I got Blink Once for my birthday. I got Campfire Chords for my birthday, which we will look at next.
Yeah.
And John likes Eyes on the Prize, which is it's also a great song.
Yeah.
They all have great choruses. Now, Rally Cry, this is 2018, so we all know what happened next. A little thing called the COVID-19 pandemic happened next, and this album was the result.
Mm-hmm.
There's a story behind it, which I can't remember all the details, but bottom line is they recorded acoustic versions of their songs with some new material. Tony Carone took all the files basically and made them into complete songs. assuming that they had to record a lot of this separately, because that's the
Mhm.
way things were. That's the way a lot of bands were recording in 2020. Great acoustic album, very different arrangements of some of these songs. We've got like violins, we have steel guitars on a lot of things.
Mhm.
We have brand new songs. We have Years in the Making, which would later come on Blink Once. Quitting You, which is, oh my God, one of my favorite ballads that they've ever done, with a great music video where they're playing in a little tent.
Yep, little yurt.
And for iTunes buyers, be aware there's another bonus track called A Little More that is not on the CD. And the only reason I know that is because you remember when they did the Arkells Fireplace channel?
Yes.
This was the album. This was the album. And then A Little More comes on. And I'm like, what is this song? I've never heard this song. So I immediately ran to my computer, went to my iTunes, and I was like, download. So, folks, you have to have the whole album. You can only fit so much music on a CD, which I suspect might be the reason. So buy the CD, sure. Buy the vinyl, sure. But just download that one track on iTunes for like $1.29 or whatever it costs these days. Anything you want to say about Campfire Chords?
Can't think of anything. It's a great album. They're all great. But yeah, that one kind of I listen to that when I want to relax. It's kind of like, it's mellow, right? It's like literally campfire songs. So I mean, it's not the one I pull out when I'm feeling energetic, but it's so good. And Quitting You,
such a good song. I also want to point out, just because I like talking about the artwork, yet another direction for the artwork. This is designed to look like a jacket patch, like if you were in the Scouts or whatever, and it's embossed so you can feel it. It actually feels like one of those little patches that you would iron or sew onto your jacket. You can kind of see where they tried to make it look like the texture of thread, just like one of those patches. It's brilliant. Yeah. So I also, hi to Henry, checking in from New York State, buying the accompanying chord book from Campfire. Oh, yeah, this guy's making me jealous. John, you're making me jealous tonight. He's got the private schoolboy shirt. He's got the Campfire chord book.
He's got all the stuff.
He's got all the stuff. Okay, so spoiler alert. This was Darcy's least favorite album, and you'll hear why. But that's why this is my introduction video for Darcy, because this was the first one on his list. So this is what Darcy had to say about Campfire Chords. Folks, Darcy Briggs from the Darcy Ska YouTube channel couldn't make the show today, but he did send me his notes. So I am going to read them. He started with Campfire Chords. Now, the first thing that he says is that he is an Arkells newbie, but now he's a big fan. Sure, he's heard all the hits along the way in their career, either in radio or playlists, but this activity of a discography dive really got him into the minutiae of the band. And the thing he likes the most about them is the feeling of distinct eras. They never really keep to the same thing for too long, for better or for worse, and that's a lot of fun for a band to do. Campfire Chords is one of the more reactive We're In This Together COVID albums that felt like a warm hug at the time, but ultimately doesn't add much to the band's overall discography. Essentially, the band had spent time teaching the chords and acoustic versions of their songs during the earliest parts of the pandemic. This led to fans asking for official recordings, and here we are. While I'm certainly not against the artist taking a stripped-down approach, the album is way too long for this kind of approach, and by design, comes off as more of a songbook. That said, the originals that were put together for this album are really great, and tracks like I'm Not the Sun, Don't Be a Stranger, Eyes on the Prize, and Hand-Me-Downs work incredibly well. Sadly, many of the ballads on here that I thought would work best are redone in such a way that they have their best elements removed, or somehow the lyrical work feels less prominent. That said, this album is certainly for fans of the band already, and I'm knocking on it a bit because of the length and lack of variety. There are some great tunes on here, and I think a once-over and edit of this to a nice 40-minute package would have done wonders. Now, he is right that it's a long album. I believe probably their longest.
Yeah.
But...
I mean, he had some really good points. A lot of it is stuff that they've rehashed and reworked and released again in a different format, which, I mean, why not? It's your music, right? So
some of those songs we did have acoustic versions of on this. And like I was mentioning earlier, there are iTunes bonus tracks that are acoustic as well. But I think with this, they kind of went out of their way to try to add something new to each song. like I said, there's some violin and anyway, I'm not as down on it as Darcy, although I think its length is a tad too much, because when I'm listening to it, I'm kind of wanting to go on to the next album prematurely. You know what I'm saying?
Right. And I must say, the Campfire Chords concert was sort of also in that vein, which was really super cool. Like they had, a little fake campfire in the middle and like more acoustic kind of vibe going on. My sister, my husband loved it. I was kind of like, okay, when's it going to kick in? When's it going to like really start rocking out? Because I'm into the heavier stuff. So it's not my style. But I mean, everybody's got different tastes. So people loved it. I had a good time. I'd go back. I wish it didn't rain, but my sister really wished it didn't rain. But I mean, it was, it's a different feel. And
speaking of which, A Little Rain on this album is very different. It's very different. It's completely, it's almost a cappella. I think there's some instrumentation as it goes, but it's great. Roger, by the way, is jealous that I didn't invite him to this show, because he did build a stage that the Arkells were walking on, and he's pointing out that he just can't type. He's not drunk. He just can't type. So thanks, Roger. And thank you for putting the Arkells up on that stage. And I'm sorry I didn't invite you. But I knew we'd be pressed for time. So, with Darcy's list, I don't think there was room for a fourth, and I apologize. Sorry. That's I have my window open, and this is a really good microphone. The Arkells rolled on through the pandemic, and they didn't let it stop them. They came out with a new studio album, the first of two. And I would say their sound changed once more. They evolved into a new version of the Arkells on this, because they went really a lot more pop. And at first I didn't think I was going to like it, because I'd seen some of the videos. I didn't like You Can Get It with K-Flay. I mean, I like the video, that Wheel of Fortune vibe. That's hilarious. But I wasn't into the song, because I wasn't into the rapping.
Okay.
But then the horn section comes in. That
it gets into your head.
It's so good. The horn section sells it, and it's the mixture of those things. It's like it. We let the dogs out. It's that mixture of influences that so it pulled me in, because there was something that I wasn't accustomed to, but then there's something that I really liked with that horn section. So it pulled me in. I pointed out All Roads, Strong, Nobody Gets Me Like You Do, Years in the Making, and Arm in Arm as my 5 favorite tracks, but that can change. Really interesting cover art design here with this cutout cover, very much like an old Led Zeppelin record. Genius packaging, fantastic. I'm going to play a video clip from All Roads, because I think it's a fantastic music video and gives you an idea of what the Arkells look like today. Are you familiar with this music video? You're not, are you?
I don't think so.
Okay, you're going to love this, because it was filmed in Hamilton. So check this out. This is a clip from All Roads, one of my absolutely favorite songs on Blink Once. This is one of my favorite Arkells videos. This is All Roads from the Blink Once album. Now, it's designed to look like it's all one take without cuts. I obviously had to make cuts here to reduce it to 1 minute, but you can get an idea here. This is shot by drones at a location called the Devil's Punch Bowl in Hamilton, Ontario. Now, I've never been there, but I got to see this place. Look at that scenery. And there's Max during his shorts phase, which I think he's still in his shorts phase, and drummer Tim Oxford there. And basically this whole video just kind of follows the band around with this drone, and it's done to make it look like it has no cuts. So you'll see here, the band are talking, and then the drone's going to take off. Oh, really cool. Really cool. And, if you watch the video in detail, you can see where they did make cuts, because Max was back there, and now here's Max again on a bike. There's no way he got back there to here on a bike that quickly. Very cool.
I actually have seen that, and
Okay.
I actually saw a clip of them filming that, and all I remember is, I guess Max had to be in 2 different locations very close timing. And all I remember is them yelling at him to run, like, go Max, go Max, go Max. And he's just like hopping over this guardrail. And I'm like, wow. So I have seen that. Devil's Punch Bowl in Hamilton. Interesting fact, people get stranded there every summer because they try and hike up it and they can't get back down. So yeah, there's a lot of waterfalls in Hamilton, and they become really popular, especially during the pandemic. So it's packed. It doesn't ever look like it does in that video. There's like 1,000 people if the weather is good. So don't go there. Anyway.
Well, I'm assuming because they filmed 2 shots on the road, I'm assuming they must have got some kind of permit to close the road temporarily to do the shoot. Must have,
because I've only been there twice, and it's been mayhem.
I would imagine. I really like Roger's comment right here. Instant fan after he heard them live. Really strong energy. Some bands are better live. Hey, I hope to find that out this November. Roger, we'll talk about getting some tickets. And John's favorite album is Blink Once. And I support you, John. And yes, there were more music videos for this. There's actually All Roads. There's a version called the nighttime version or night drive version. And it is at night with Mike and Max in a car, and it's driving it. It's very soft and slow, and you can get it on iTunes. It's one of those iTunes things. Anything else we want to say about Blink Once before we cut it to Darcy?
I think I'm good.
Okay, let's hear what Darcy had to say. This time he was concise. Blink Once. This album merges their indie rock roots with a burgeoning pop rock sensibility. It feels like the start of the third era for the band, and it's a massive hit for people that really like upbeat and danceable rock. To the point, and I agree.
Sure.
I think that this is an album that gets better the more you listen to it as well, because on first listen, you get those pop melodies and everything, and on third listen, fourth listen, fifth listen, you can hear more of the production stuff and all the different sounds going on, and there's a lot. So that leads into the second album, Blink Twice. And again, brilliant cover art. We have the that's so cool. I'm glad it's showing up on camera. But we have the cutout design there with this time 2 eyeballs. And it's very much a sequel record. I'm assuming they were recorded pretty much at the same time. A lot more collaborations though. The last one just had the K-Fly track. This one we have the Cold War Kids, Lights, who you've seen them with
many times.
Tegan and Sarah. Wesley Schultz from the Lumineers, and Jake Clemens, nephew of Clarence Clemens of the E Street Band. Ali and AJ, and I'm going to try to say this correctly, Cour de Pirate, and Joel Plaskett, all in this album. Once again, there's an iTunes track that you can download, which is an even more French version of the partly French track Dance With You, where there's even more lyrics in French. It's called Danse avec toi. Personal favorites here. I have to go to my second page. Past Life with the Cold War Kids. So good. Teenage Tears with Tegan and Sarah. It really kind of brings back that somber kind of Arkells song that I sometimes go for. It has a haunting music video that was probably filmed in a mall during the pandemic when nobody was there. Mm-hmm. But I think my favorite track, and the one that I play in the car almost every day, is the upbeat Nowhere to Go with Wesley Schultz and Jake Clemens. And it's got a lot to do with Jake Clemens' sax solo, which sounds so much like an actual Bruce Springsteen song. So much. And ironically, they cover Springsteen on the new album. But man, I think Nowhere to Go, it's so upbeat. The variation between Max and Wesley's vocals is perfect. And then that sax solo comes in, and it's so good. You can hear that Jake Clemens has it in the genes, you know?
Nowhere to Go is my absolute, I would say, one of my favorite songs they do live. It is just amazing live. It is so energetic and gets the crowd so excited. It's just so happy. And I'm just like, I always hear that. And I'm like, okay, this is my happy place. I could, they could play that over and over and over again. I love it.
Yeah, I agree. I could play it on loop, and I often do when I'm stuck in traffic on the way home from work. Any further commentary on this? Like obviously, wrong album. Obviously, that Tegan and Sarah song is very special. It's really good.
The Tegan and Sarah one just makes me sad.
It does though.
It's a great song. It's a great song, but I'm just like, it's the lyrics and everything. I'm just like, oh.
I mean, it is called Teenage Tears.
It is, of course. So I mean, that's the purpose.
On the flip side, though, you got Human Being with lights, which is just, it's fun, and it's got a great music video too with lights in it. She's an excellent artist herself. I consider her more of an artist than a musician, because she does so much in the way of visual art with her music videos and everything else in her image. She's got it all kind of artist.
And she's so nice. Such a sweetheart. So nice.
That's so nice to know.
It sounds so lame, but it's always really exciting when you meet someone like that, and they're, it just adds that extra layer of awesomeness when they're super great people on top of being really talented. Because there's lots of really talented people in the world, but I think it's more important to be a decent human being.
Which is the name of the song, guys.
But I mean, it's so much better when you meet these people and they're like really genuinely happy to see you, happy that you've come to their show, happy that you've spent the money. It's a grind touring, and I'm sure it gets really, really old hearing the same thing over and over again, no matter how complimentary that is. You can only hear, you changed my life so many times before you're like, yeah, okay.
I'm sure that you were sadly right. I'm sure.
It is kind of sad when you think about it, but it's like, it's got to be a grind. So it's always really nice to hear somebody sound really genuinely appreciative, and that should not be a thing, but it is.
She's managed to stay grounded somehow, and I don't know how.
Yeah.
I mean, we have Ron Holmes in tonight. I believe he follows you on Twitter.
Yes, I think so. On Twitter, where I talk more about science and vaccines than I do about bands. But
I was going to save that for the ending. But yes, of course, we all know Nurse Cat. She's on Twitter, and she's Twitter famous. Let's hear what Darcy had to say about Blink Twice. Again, he's concise here.
Blink Twice. Building on the foundation of Blink Once, the sequel album dives deeper into pop rock territory, delivering infectious hooks and polished production. Feels like everything they offered and then amped up just a little bit more.
Yeah, I agree with that, actually. Amped up. That album's a little amped up. There's that one song, Something's Gotta Give, with Joel Plaskett. It's amped up,
Joel Plaskett. Fun story. It never did. I know, I have a million of them. My husband just rolls his eyes. I'm like, I have an anecdote about that from 1992. But I kind of do. Joel Plaskett used to be in a band called Thrush Hermit.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
NC-17, that was their album, right? Was that them?
Gosh, I can't remember.
Do I have that right?
I do not remember.
Okay.
Because it was my youth and a long time ago. But I do remember seeing them on like Queen Street and like that scene in the 90s. And I'm just like, was the 90s, right?
Yeah, it was the 90s. Sorry, I had to open my window. It's getting hot in here. Okay.
But yeah, it's like I didn't realize that until the second or third concert the show I'd seen with Joel opening for them, and I was like, and somebody mentioned Thrush Hermit. I'm like, wait a minute, I know that band, and it was like the penny dropped. So.
Gotcha.
Anyway, that I have nothing else. Just that.
Okay. Last thing I want to say about Blink Twice is that it, like the previous album, had great music videos. I'm partial to Past Life, so let's take a quick look at the music video for Past Life. And finally, here is Past Life, one of my favorite tracks from Blink Twice. And this is a duet with Nathan Willett from the Cold War Kids from California. Band I never heard of before. But there he is. There's Nathan right there with his black leather jacket. Kind of looking like a Ewan McGregor kind of guy, I think. Maybe a little bit. A little bit of a wider face, but Ewan McGregor kind of look. There's Suzanne Vega on the wall behind him. I love the kind of retro VHS look of this video. I love doing the karaoke and the karaoke bar thing here. And apparently there's a bartender here that's played by Will Forte from the film MacGruber. I've never seen it. That information comes from my reader Holin on my website. He told me that is Will Forte. And basically he's like not able to sing the word. He doesn't know the words. The other two guys know the words and he's kind of faking it. But this is a great video. It's really fun, and I might have to check out Cold War Kids. We'll see.
You do have to check out Cold War Kids, because listen to Hang Me Up to Dry. It is so amazing, that song. So yeah, they're an amazing band, Cold War Kids.
Are you familiar with this show, Castle? I am not.
Yes.
Okay, so apparently he thinks Nathan Willett.
Watch.
He thinks Nathan Willett looks like a tougher Castle. Apparently.
Okay, I can see that.
As we get to the present day of the Arkells, what was until today their most recent album, which only came out last summer, Laundry Pile, less than a year ago, they decided to do acoustic versions of the Blink albums, but somehow managed to write an entirely new album instead. That's musical inspiration for you. Very different. It's almost entirely acoustic, not completely, but almost. I'm still spending time getting to know this album, but currently my favorite songs are the first two, Life Is and Skin. Skin has a great music video, and the main hook of this is, again, we got to go back to Tony. That din-na-na, din-na-na on the piano, it just, every chorus, that's the hook. And I've listened to this album. I've listened to all these albums a number of times this week, but I love it when it's on. I can't necessarily remember how all the songs go when it's off. So right now, that's what this album is for me. It wouldn't rank high on my list simply because it hasn't sunk in yet. I think it's the kind of album that might take maybe a couple of years to sink in. Just my feeling. Thoughts?
Same thing. It's not my favorite. It's I mean, we've already established that I like the heavier stuff, so the acoustic thing, I have to be in the right mood.
Right.
Life Is kind of gets me.
Life is short sometimes. Yeah.
Yeah. Just the lyrics are really, really sort of grab me and kind of make me a little sad and reflective all at the same time, which is not a bad thing.
No.
The rest, the rest is not my speed.
Okay.
It's good. It's good.
It's good.
I bought it.
But if you were in an acoustic mood more of the time, it might have felt different.
Right. Life Is comes on a lot, but the rest I don't regularly go to it, and I don't add it to playlists. Like, I have my favorites that I always put if I'm going on a trip. There's like 10 Arkells songs that always end up, and I don't think very many from that album ever make the list. Not to say it's a bad album. It's great, but it's not my speed.
There's one song on here that has a great horn section, I remember, and it might be Beginner's Mind.
Okay.
But again, I have a hard time remembering how all the songs go when they're not playing.
Right.
Well, this is the last one that Darcy has an opinion on because he hasn't heard Disco Loadout yet. But let's hear what Darcy says about Laundry Pile. Laundry Pile. An underrated gem, but one I feel doesn't hit as much as it should. I think it's a bit hit or miss with some really big swings in both directions. He's right.
Yeah.
It does have some big swings on it. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. I'm sorry, Kat, but we have a surprise. Wow. Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, for the first time since February, please welcome to the stage the Mad Metal Man, Harrison Kopp. How are you doing, my friend?
Well, I've been better.
Harrison has been ill, and this is the first time he's been on in months.
Oh, no.
Harrison, it's Harrison Cat Harrison.
Hello.
He's the one who made the Lego you.
Awesome.
Yeah. Apologies about the lighting. I'm
No.
not sure why it's so dark.
That's fine, man. I'm just so happy to see you, and so is John Clauser. Look at this, John Clauser, Henry. We're all so happy to see you, my friend. It's been a long time.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I'm still in pretty rough shape. You won't be seeing me with any regularity for a while still, I'm afraid. But
that's fine, buddy.
I did just want to pop in.
I'm so happy to see you. You ordered this.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Based
it's in
on
the mail.
Based on Gimme Gimme Gimme, I think you said.
Yep. Just that one song was enough.
Well, I don't know if you've heard the drama of what happened today, but I never got my copy, and I had to go out and buy one today because mine was lost or stolen in the mail.
Oh.
Yeah.
That's
I went out to the store. Otherwise, I'd be showing you my autographed vinyl. So you've only heard. Have you heard anything? Because this is a different version of Gimme Gimme Gimme. Incidentally, it's different from the iTunes EP.
Yeah. No, I haven't heard anything off that yet. My copy is still in the mail.
Okay. So you haven't done the preview that some people do, which is I respect. I am the same as Harrison. I do not listen until I have it in my hands.
Yeah, sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. It's rare that I'll buy an album without hearing anything off it. I think the only time I've done that in recent memory was Corey Taylor's CMF2, which I bought off the strength of CMFT, and I didn't listen to anything before that.
Gotcha. Well, if you don't mind, I'm going to tell you what I think of this album very quickly after 1.5 listens today. Gimme a Man After Midnight is still a highlight, although I think I might prefer the previous run on the iTunes EP. There's one called iTunes Originals, I think, or something like that. You can download that. It has some great covers on it. My wife and I, we both love You Make My Dreams Come True, the Hall & Oates cover, because it's the Toronto Maple Leafs, or was the Toronto Maple Leafs theme song whenever they scored a goal. But it's a great song. Sledgehammer with Mike DeAngelis doing one of the verses. So good, and he kind of nails that Peter Gabriel vibe. I'm digging 9 to 5, the Dolly Parton cover. Nick Deak is really grooving on the bass there. So good. I think I Want to Dance with Somebody, the Whitney Houston cover, is going to become a favorite. Dancing Queen is going to become a favorite. 2 ABBA covers. My favorite, though, just after the Power of Love Huey Lewis cover, is gotta be Dancing in the Dark, the Springsteen cover. Now, I sent this. I shouldn't say that. I sent this to John Clauser, that track earlier. I did, but I didn't.
You sent me Gimme, and I bought an album out of it. So.
I don't like sharing music, but I do like sharing when I know the person's going to really appreciate the music. And I did share the Springsteen cover, Dancing in the Dark, with John Clauser, and he said it's better than Springsteen's version.
Wow.
Now, I'm not going to go that far, but my sometimes co-host Jax Russell also commented on this, and he said he couldn't believe how strong Max's voice was and how Springsteen-like he sounds on that track. Again, it's early days, Kat, but do you have any thoughts about a favorite? Anything?
Gimme is I'd have to listen to the whole album a few times to really sort of warm up to it. I've heard some of them live already.
Right.
Last year they did a show at Outer Harbor in Buffalo, and sadly I had visitors from the UK and couldn't go because
damn in-laws.
Oh, my cousins, I love them dearly, but man, they couldn't have picked a different day, because after the show at Outer Harbor they did a disco load. They played Disco Loadout, which was their. I don't know if you know what a disco loadout is.
There's an explanation in the booklet. Let's just maybe tell the audience a shorter version of it than what's in the text.
Version. Okay, when bands play venues, often they'll double book. And after the live band plays, they'll often have like a disco show after, because bands will play for a couple of hours and then they'll have like a DJ doing, a literal disco. It's really popular in the UK. I know when I see shows over there, especially in London, like when Arkells played in London, the show was over at 10 o'clock and then everybody got kicked out and there was a lineup of people who were coming in after, and they call it a disco loadout because they have to get all their gear out. There's pressure because people are coming in, so you have to like get all your crap packed up in the van and get on the road. So it's called a disco. This show's a disco loadout. You have to get out.
Gotcha.
There, I hope that was shorter. But where was I going with this? Oh, the album. Yeah. Covers, right? So they did this show called Disco Loadout at Town Ballroom in Buffalo, and I missed it, and I'm not over it, because that was totally something that I would have done, and I did not get to see it, and I'm not bitter at all.
You're not bitter at all.
I'm bitter.
Now, the only thing I want to point out additionally about this is that it says Volume 1. So
there's more.
I hope so.
Volume 1 insinuates there's a Volume 2, 3, and 4.
I don't think this band is anywhere near slowing down. They've put out an album a year consistently since 2020. So this is positive and we're seeing change and growth on every album. But importantly, we also have a lineup that has been stable since High Noon. We've had the same 5 guys, and I think the future is still bright for these guys. I don't know if they've made their best album yet. I think it's possible that they may have better stuff still to come because they continue to impress and surprise me. Now, having said that, the challenge now is I promised I would do a ranking. Rather than do a bottom-up ranking, I'm going to go top-down. And I'm going to put Morning Report as my number 1 favorite Arkells album. See, I've moved everything around, but that's number 1. Number 2, High Noon. Number 3, Blink Twice. Number 4, Blink Once. Michigan Left, number 5. This gets harder and harder and harder, doesn't it? Rally Cry. Campfire Chords, Laundry Pile, and then Jackson Square. And this is so hard because it's like I don't dislike any of them. So that hurt a lot.
Jackson Square's last?
Yeah.
Oh!
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I feel like I owe the Arkells Nation an apology, but something has to come last.
Yeah,
Something
but
has. I don't want to put.
Okay.
I don't want to put Laundry Pile last because I feel there's still more to come with that album and me. I feel like there's more to come, and Campfire Chords. I've spent many hours in beautiful settings listening to that acoustic album. I'm getting emotional here. I love this band. I'm really glad that they connected with me last year because this journey of music, this is so rare that this happens, that I binge on a band like this. It's so rare. It's happened 3 times in my life, maybe. So, that makes the Arkells a very special band. And that Mom, hello, Mom. That is why I like the Arkells. Whew. Well, that was an epic of a show. Kat, is there anything else you want to say before we get going?
I don't think so. I think we covered everything really, really well. Thank you for listening to my really obscure stories that go off in tangents. My husband senses sympathy.
Well, and folks, we did this last year, I think in July. We did the Arkells with Kat and Aaron. So if you want to check that out, it's on my YouTube channel. She tells a lot more stories. And we showed a lot of concert footage and stuff too. Harrison, do you have anything you want to you want to say before we go? It's just so good to see you, my friend.
Not really. I've been getting so much music over the past 3 months. There'll be an entire show dedicated to that eventually,
or more than one show dedicated.
Yeah,
to that
might have to be more than one by the time I get back.
Yeah,
I guess I'll just show off the latest thing I got, which is this collection of Led Zeppelin radio broadcasts.
Oh, cool.
5 shows across 8 discs, 69, 73, 77, 75, and 1980.
1980. See, that's where I want to hear more Zeppelin. Oh, that is gorgeous, Harrison.
Yeah.
I'm sure
it's a good set.
That's a lot.
That is a lot. That's 5 concerts. Just think about
That's a lot of Led Zeppelin.
Yep.
Well, Harrison, since you're with us tonight, you get the honor. Oh, I'm sorry. Before I go, Kat, I just want to, as being a healthcare worker during the most difficult times in the last 100 years, I just want to thank you for everything that you do. And I want to thank you for fighting disinformation on Twitter. And I recommend everybody give Hey Nurse Kat a follow on Twitter because, I mean, she does talk about music sometimes.
I do. In between scrapping with anti-vaxxers and fighting disinformation, I do like music. That's kind of the happy posts that show up on my feed.
And squirrels and gardening and horses.
Squirrels, my horse, my husband, calling people potatoes, things like that.
And muffins.
Oh, that's my latest thing. I kind of need to get away from that. People really get offended. It's funny. They get more angry when I call them a muffin than they do when I call them a potato.
Which, if I was, a muffin is sweet and tasty, and a potato needs to be processed before it's any good, you know?
Reminds me of that guy in JJ Star Trek when they call him Cupcake.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Cupcake. He gets really upset. May is Brain Tumor Awareness Month. That goes out to his nephew Sammy, who is a warrior. So there you go, John Clauser. Good, thanks for mentioning that. Harrison, thank you for doing this, man. You get to pick the song that we go out on because of obvious reasons. What do you want to hear, buddy?
Do we still have loaded up here? We don't really have any disco tracks, so I'm going to have to go with I Don't Advocate Drugs by Maxi X.
Oh, do I still have that?
Do I
still have that? I do. Okay. So that's what we'll go out on. This is Maxi X, I Don't Advocate Drugs. Check out Hey Nurse Cat on Twitter.
Thank you.
Harrison Kopp is Harrison Block, I believe, on YouTube.
Yeah. I've paused my Lego art for
he has paused, but he will be back before the end of the year. I guarantee.
I'm working on stuff behind the scenes for fun. I'm not putting like the expectation, the pressure of expectation, and giving myself regular posting.
Of course, and that's completely understandable. But we know we will see you again before this year is out. Harrison, thank you, man. Get well. Love you, buddy. Kat, thanks again. This is I Don't Advocate Drugs by Maxi X. Have a great Friday night. We'll see you next week with a rerun of Top 5 Bald Artists. Take care, everyone. Good night.
Good night.
See you.